Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for checking out my channel. My name is Brian Sturman, and this is my E30 drift car. A bit about myself, I'm 29 years old. I just recently moved to Florida for work and to get into a little bit more competitive drifting. I've been drifting now for about 4 years and competing for about 2 to 3. My car is a 1991 318 IS with an M52. It's a very simple, very basic setup that works fantastic. I'm running full SLR angle, BC coilovers, Condor bushings around the entire car. I have some bucket seats, a handbrake, and it's geared with a 373 and a ZF Trans. I picked up the car in Atlanta back in 2011, 100% bone stock, and I daily drove it with the 4-cylinder for 6 years or so. It went through a few different phases during that time, and I thoroughly enjoyed it as it was, but ultimately the goal was to swap into 24 valve and begin drifting. At first sight of the M42 having blown a head gasket, I wasted no time at all to get the M52 that I had been refreshing into the car and get started on the swap. Now, over the course of the last few years, I've been drifting the car pretty consistently on average of 1 to 2 times a month, and I've had 0 hiccups since the start of the new motor. Now, besides basic maintenance, oil changes, and spark plugs, I don't work on the car outside of crashing it here or there, but mechanically, it's very sound. And after a while of doing a lot of fun days and open drift events, I felt as though my driving had progressed enough to where I could enter in some competition and give it a try. So I began doing a lot of grassroots competition for a couple years, as well as some team tandem and drift game style events, and doing moderately well for being such an underpowered car. I've taken home a few trophies during that time, but ultimately was having a blast driving at a more competitive level. So very recently, like I said, we moved to Florida. After my daughter was born, Washington is just not the place I want to raise a family. We won't get into that stuff on here, but if you know me, you know how I feel. So I searched around for a few months for work. I'm a journeyman plumber, so finding work isn't much of an issue. It's more so just deciding where we want to go. And the 2 choices were between Texas or Florida. Now, we do have some family in the Southeast, so that really influenced the decision as to coming down here. But drifting's a big one too, and after watching Clutch Kickers and all the events that take place in Florida and all the neighboring states, it made the decision much easier. So we packed up all our stuff, drove cross country, and moved to our new home in the Sunshine State. Which brings us to where we are now. Within 2 weeks of moving, I wasted no time. I immediately signed up for round 4 of Clutch Kickers and was immediately hooked. Between the level of driving, the track itself, and the atmosphere, you can't not have a great time. Round 4, we did decently well. We qualified in the middle of the field, but we lost our first battle to a real good driver. I knew I was the slowest car out there, but I'm very confident in my driving abilities, so I had to give it a shot.
Switching back into the second outer zone. I'll tell you what, Brian's right there with him. He is shaving that line there a little bit, but we're going to flick it into the third and final outer zone. Brian trying to suck up on the door of Brandon as they make their way out the track. Actually, I'm really impressed Brian able to hang with the more powerful car.
After round 4, I was dead set on either LS swapping my car or to turbo my current setup. Now, I've done, decently well at the 190 horsepower mark, so I figured with an extra 150, 200 horsepower and a car that weighs nothing would make a huge difference. I decided with how reliable this motor's been for me over the last couple years that I'll just turbo the M52 and see how it went. I immediately started ordering parts right away, and in the meantime, we registered for round 5 of Clutch Kickers. This round would have been better than the last. Out of 80 drivers, we again qualified a bit higher than half the field. My first battle was against the only other E30 out there, which I was super hyped about, but it's not the battle that either of us wanted. I was really hoping for a good heads-up battle, but due to a mistake on his end, I ended up getting the win, which, don't get me wrong, a win's a win, it's great, but being new out here, not knowing anybody, I would much rather earn every win that I can. Our next battle was a bit more interesting. We were up against a 1,000 horsepower FD level car piloted by a really good driver. but I gave it everything I had. I jumped the line, but still got gapped super hard on the straight, and it didn't help I completely missed third gear and just coasted into my entry. I tried cutting some corners to catch up, but there's no chance I was going to catch that car. So then on my lead run, I just tried not to get in my head and do my thing, but as expected, I got pushed around that entire track.
Here they go. They go down straight. Brian Sturman out the gate as fast as he can go, throwing it into the first outer zone there. Nick Castleberry is right there with them, trying to just control left foot brake and just keep that car at bay because that's 14. Brian Sturman running an excellent lead run. And Nick Castleberry just staying right there with him, applying that pressure. Turn for turn, angle for angle. Whoa, riding the back. Wow. Brian Sturman is Mr. Nick Castleberry.
It was still super rad. I had a damn good time and just really wanted to see where the M52 would stack up with the rest of the field. So here we are. The season's over. It's time to make some power. We're going to go ahead and just dive right into it and not waste any time. I have everything that I need to turbo my car, minus a few odds and ends that we'll run into along the way. Thank you to everyone if you're still watching at this point. I know this intro is kind of dragged out, but I really wanted to give you all some insight on what we've done, where we are, and what the future holds. So if you're interested in the build and you want to see more, stick around. We're going to have a lot of fun, tons of driving, and I appreciate you guys watching. See ya.